The emergency signal screamed across the Galactic Council's communication network at exactly 400 hours. Ambassador jerked awake in his quarters, his four eyes blinking rapidly as the alarm pierced through his sleep. He had not heard that particular sound in 300 years. It was the Forbidden Sector alert. His aide rushed into the room, her scales pale with fear. "Ambassador, you need to see this immediately." Pulled on his formal robes and hurried to the command center. The main screen showed a sector of space that glowed red on every monitor. The Forbidden Sector, the place where no one was allowed to go, the place where humanity had been sent 3 centuries ago. "What happened?" demanded. "A slaver fleet entered the sector 2 hours ago," his aide explained. "They ignored all the warning beacons. They were hunting for rare minerals." Felt his blood run cold. "Did they find anything?" "They found a colony. Refugees who fled into the sector generations ago. The slavers have taken them captive. There are children among them." The ambassador stared at the screen. He remembered the day humanity had been exiled. He had been young then, a junior diplomat who watched as the Galactic Council made their decision. The humans had refused to surrender their weapons. They had refused to become peaceful like the rest of the galaxy. So the Council had given them a choice: leave or be destroyed. The humans had chosen to leave. They took their warships and their weapons and disappeared into the Forbidden Sector. The Council had placed warning beacons around the entire region. No one was to enter. No one was to disturb the humans. It was better to forget they existed. But had never forgotten. He remembered Captain Daniel Brooks, the human commander who had stood before the Council. Brooks had not begged. He had not pleaded. He had simply said, "We will go, but we will not forget what you did here today." Now, 300 years later, someone had broken the agreement. "The slaver captain is named X," the aide continued. "He commands 47 warships. He laughed when we sent him the warnings about the sector. He said the stories about humans were just myths to scare children." Watch the screen as the slaver fleet gathered around a small moon. The colony was there. He could see the life signs. 2,000 souls, 400 of them were children. "Send another warning," ordered. "Tell them to release the captives and leave immediately." His aide looked at him with confusion. "Sir, they will not listen, and even if they wanted to leave, what are we afraid of? The humans have been gone for 300 years. They are probably extinct by now." Shook his head slowly. "The humans are not extinct." "How can you know that?" "Because I know humans," said quietly. "They do not give up, they do not surrender, and they never forget." Deep in the Forbidden Sector, aboard the UHS Vengeance, Captain Daniel Brooks sat in his command chair. He was not the same Daniel Brooks who had spoken to the Council 3 centuries ago. That man had been his great-great-great-grandfather. But the name had been passed down through 5 generations, along with the duty that came with it. The duty to watch, the duty to wait, the duty to protect the galaxy that had cast them out. Lieutenant Sophie Hayes looked up from her tactical station. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal." Brooks leaned forward. "Source?" "Refugees on Moon Delta 7. They are under attack by a slaver fleet, 47 ships. The slavers have already taken hostages." Brooks felt anger rise in his chest. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council had told humanity they were too violent, too dangerous, too willing to fight. The Council had said the galaxy would be better without them. But the Council had grown soft. They had forgotten that evil still existed in the universe. They had forgotten that sometimes peace could only be maintained by those willing to fight. "How long until we reach them?" Brooks asked. 12 minutes at full speed," Sophie replied. "Take us in, battle stations." The Vengeance came to life. Red lights flashed along the corridors. The crew rushed to their positions. They had trained for this moment for 300 years. Generation after generation of humans, living in exile, maintaining their ships, keeping their weapons ready. Waiting for the day they would be needed. Engineer Carter checked his instruments in the engine room. The fusion reactors hummed with power. They had been upgraded and improved over the centuries. Humanity had not wasted their time in exile. They had studied. They had learned. They had built weapons that the rest of the galaxy could not imagine. Dr. Lisa Morgan prepared the medical bay. She hoped there would be no casualties today. But she had learned from her parents and grandparents that hope was not a plan. She made sure every bed was ready. Every medical drone was charged and waiting. On the bridge, Brooks watched the main screen as the Vengeance approached the slaver fleet. The alien ships were gathered around the moon like predators circling wounded prey. They had no idea what was coming for them. "Open a channel," Brooks ordered. Sophie worked her controls. "Channel open, sir." Brooks spoke clearly and calmly. "Attention, slaver fleet. This is Captain Daniel Brooks of the United Human Ship Vengeance. You have entered a protected zone. You have taken innocent people as captives. You have 10 minutes to release them and leave this sector. This is your only warning." Aboard the lead slaver ship, X listened to the message and began to laugh. His crew joined in. The bridge filled with the sound of their mocking voices. "A human ship," X said between laughs. "I thought they were extinct, or maybe just a story to frighten children." His second officer pointed at the sensors. "Sir, I am detecting one ship, just one. It is large, but we outnumber them 47 to 1. X grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Send a message back. Tell the human we will add him to our cargo. Human slaves will fetch a good price." The communication officer sent the message. Then he waited for a response. The response came, but not in words. Every sensor in the slaver fleet suddenly screamed warnings. A massive power signature had appeared on their screens. It was coming from the human ship. The energy readings were impossible. No ship could generate that much power. X stopped laughing. He stared at his sensors in disbelief. "What is that?" he whispered. On the Vengeance, Sophie Hayes reported calmly. "They have rejected our warning, Captain. They are moving to attack positions." Brooks nodded. He had known they would not listen. Bullies never did. They only understood one language. "Charge all weapons," he ordered. "Raise shields to maximum. Prepare point defense systems." Carter's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "Reactors at 100%, Captain. All systems green. We are ready." Brooks looked at the timer on his screen. 9 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. The slavers had wasted 30 seconds with their arrogance. Now they would learn the cost of that mistake. "Lieutenant Hayes," Brooks said, "show them why the galaxy feared us." Sophie's fingers danced across her controls. The Vengeance's weapon systems came online. Energy poured into the main batteries. Missile tubes loaded. Point defense lasers targeted every incoming threat. The slaver fleet opened fire first. Plasma bolts and missiles filled the space between the ships. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The Vengeance did not move. The shields absorbed every hit, not a single shot penetrated. X watched in growing horror as his most powerful weapons splashed harmlessly against the human ship's defenses. "Impossible," he muttered. "Those shields should not exist." His weapons officer shouted, "Sir, their point defense systems are activating." A web of laser fire erupted from the Vengeance. Every missile, every fighter craft, every torpedo was vaporized before it could reach the ship. The point defense was so precise, so fast, that nothing could get through. 8 minutes, Sophie announced calmly. Brooks sat perfectly still in his command chair. He had learned patience from his father, who had learned it from his father before him. 5 generations of Brooks captains, all waiting for this moment. Across the galaxy, monitoring stations detected the energy spike from the forbidden sector. Alarms began to sound in Council headquarters. Scientists stared at their screens in disbelief. In the Council chamber, Ambassador received the alert on his personal device. He read the message and closed his eyes. "They kept their word," he whispered to himself. "All these years they have been watching over us." The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Representatives from 100 worlds gathered, demanding to know what was happening in the forbidden sector. Stood before them. "The humans are still there. They have encountered a slaver fleet that violated the treaty. And now we are about to see what 300 years of isolation has created." Back aboard the Vengeance, Brooks made his decision. The slavers would not surrender peacefully. They were too arrogant, too confident in their numbers. They needed to understand the situation clearly. "Sophie, fire a warning shot. Maximum power. Target the asteroid field to their starboard side." Sophie's hands moved swiftly. "Aye, Captain, main battery charged, firing now." The Vengeance's primary weapon discharged. A beam of pure energy, white-hot and brilliant, lanced through space. It struck the asteroid field and 3 planetoids simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. The beam continued into deep space, visible for light years in every direction. On every ship in the slaver fleet, alarms screamed. Crew members stared at their screens in shock. X stared at the empty space where 3 planetoids had existed moments before. His claws trembled against the armrest of his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew sat frozen in shock. The tactical display showed the human ship sitting calmly in the void, weapons charged and ready. Options, X demanded. His voice cracked slightly. His weapons officer shook his head. Sir, our weapons cannot penetrate their shields. Their point defense destroys everything we fire. And that energy beam, nothing in our database matches that technology. We have 47 ships, X snarled. They have one, we can overwhelm them. His second officer turned in his seat. Sir, with respect, that one ship just vaporized 3 asteroids with a warning shot. What will a direct hit do to us? X's mind raced. He had built his fortune on being smarter than his enemies, on knowing when to fight and when to run. But pride fought against common sense. He had never surrendered before, never backed down. And he still had the hostages. Open a channel to the human ship, he ordered. On the Vengeance, Brooks watched as the communication request came through. Sophie Hayes raised an eyebrow. Think he is ready to surrender? No, Brooks said quietly. Men like him never surrender easily, except the channel. X's face appeared on the main screen. His species had scales and multiple eyes, but Brooks could read the fear underneath the anger. He had seen that expression before, many times over the years. Human captain, X said, I have 2,000 captives, 400 of them are children. If you fire on my fleet, I will execute them all. You have no choice but to let us leave. Brooks felt the rage building inside him, but his face remained calm. His father had taught him never to show emotion to an enemy, never let them see what you were thinking. You are threatening children, Brooks said. His voice was soft, but everyone on both bridges heard the danger in it. That was a mistake. It is leverage, X replied. You humans claim to be moral, righteous. Let us leave with our cargo and the captives live. Attack us and their blood is on your hands. Brooks leaned back in his chair. Sophie, zoom in on the slaver fleet. Show me where they are holding the prisoners. Sophie's fingers flew across her console. The main screen split, showing detailed scans of each slaver ship. Thermal imaging revealed the huddled-in cargo holds across 12 different vessels. The children were clustered together, terrified and cold. Got them, Captain, Sophie said. Cargo holds on ships 7 through 18. The holds have separate atmospheric systems. If we can disable the ships without breaching the holds, the captives will be safe. Brooks nodded slowly. X, I am going to give you one more chance. Release the captives, surrender your weapons. You and your crews will be detained but unharmed. Or what? X challenged. You will fire on us and murder 2,000 innocents. Some hero you are. Brooks smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Or I will take them from you, and then I will show you what happens to people who threaten children. He cut the channel before X could respond. 6 minutes, Sophie announced. Brooks stood from his chair. Status on precision targeting. Carter's voice came through clearly from engineering. Captain, we have mapped every ship in that fleet. I can disable engines and weapons without touching the cargo holds, but it is going to drain our reactors. We will be vulnerable for 90 seconds while they recharge. How vulnerable? If they focus all remaining firepower on us during that window, our shields might fail. Brooks looked at his crew. Every face on the bridge was calm and determined. They knew the risks. They had always known this day might come. Crew vote, Brooks said. This is not a standard military action. We could wait for them to release the hostages. We could negotiate, but that might take hours and the children are frightened. Some may be injured. If we act now, we save them, but we put ourselves at risk. Sophie Hayes spoke first. We save them, that is what we do. One by one, every crew member on the bridge agreed. The vote was unanimous. Brooks tapped his communicator. All hands, this is the captain. We are engaging the slaver fleet to rescue hostages. This is what we have trained for. This is why we are here. Make your ancestors proud. Throughout the ship, the crew responded. In engineering, pushed the reactors to their limits. In medical, Lisa Morgan prepared for incoming wounded. In the hangar bay, fighter pilots climbed into their drones and waited for launch orders. And in the Marine barracks, Corporal Jake checked his armor seals one last time. He was 26 years old, fourth generation born on the Vengeance. His entire life had been spent training for combat he hoped would never come. Now it was here. "Listen up," Jake told his squad. "We breach the cargo holds, we secure the hostages, and we get them out, fast and clean. Rules of engagement are weapons free on any hostile, but if they surrender, we take them alive. We are not like them. We are better. Understood?" "Yes, sir," his squad shouted in unison. On the bridge, Sophie Hayes ran the calculations one final time. "Captain, I have firing solutions for all 47 ships. Precision strikes to engines and weapons only. The drones can breach the cargo ships and extract hostages in under 3 minutes. 5 minutes, Brooks announced. He opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands execute Operation Guardian Angel." The Vengeance erupted into action. Weapon ports opened along the massive ship's hull. Fighter drones launched from the hangar bay, 50 small craft moving faster than the slaver sensors could track. The main batteries rotated, targeting computers locking onto each enemy vessel. X watched his sensors in disbelief. "How are they targeting all our ships at once? That is impossible." His weapons officer shouted, "Sir, incoming fire." The Vengeance unleashed controlled fury. Precision laser strikes hit slaver ships across the fleet. Engine cores exploded. Weapon batteries melted. Shield generators overloaded. In 90 seconds, every slaver vessel was crippled and drifting. Not a single shot touched the cargo holds where the hostages waited. "Impossible," X whispered. "No one is that accurate." But the human ship was. 300 years of practice. 300 years of refining their weapons and training their crews. 300 years of waiting for the moment when they could prove their worth. The fighter drones reached the cargo ships. Magnetic clamps attached to hull plates. Breaching charges cut perfect circles in the metal. Human Marines in advanced armor dropped through the openings. Jake landed in the cargo hold of ship number 7. His helmet display showed 16 armed guards and 200 captives. The guards spun toward him, weapons rising. "Drop your weapons," Jake ordered. His armor's translation software converted his words into the slaver language. "On the ground now." 2 guards opened fire. Their weapons hit Jake's armor and bounced off harmlessly. The rest threw down their guns and fell to their knees. Jake's squad secured the guards in restraints. He approached the huddled slowly, keeping his hands visible. They were small, barely reaching his chest. They had fur and large eyes, built for a gentle world nothing like Earth. A young girl no more than 6 years old stared up at him. Her name tag said Sora. She was shaking with fear. Jake removed his helmet. He smiled at her. "Hi there, my name is Jake. We are here to take you somewhere safe." Sora looked at him with wide eyes. "Are you really human?" "Yes. My grandmother told me stories about humans. She said you were scary." Jake knelt down to her level. "Only to bad people are you a bad person." Sora shook her head quickly. "Then you have nothing to be scared of. Do you want to come with me? We have hot food and warm beds on our ship." The little girl took his hand. Behind her, the other began to stand. Hope replaced fear in their eyes. Across the fleet, the scene repeated itself. Human Marines secured 12 cargo holds, captured the guards without killing a single one, and gathered the terrified refugees. The whole operation took 2 minutes and 40 seconds. On the Vengeance bridge, Sophie Hayes monitored everything. "All hostages secured, Captain. 0 casualties on our side. The slavers have 3 wounded from the initial strikes, minor injuries." Brooks nodded. "Bring our people home and bring thee as well. They are under our protection now." The fighter drones returned, carrying Marines and refugees. The Vengeance's hangar bay became a rescue center as doctors and crew members helped them to safety. Lisa Morgan worked quickly, scanning the children for injuries. Most were dehydrated and frightened, but otherwise unharmed. She felt relief flood through her. This was why she had become a doctor. This was why her family had stayed on the Vengeance for 5 generations. To save lives. In the council chamber, Ambassador watched the live feed from the Forbidden Sector. The entire council sat in stunned silence as they witnessed the rescue operation. "They disabled 47 ships without harming a single hostage," one representative whispered. "That level of precision should not be possible." Another council member stood. "They kept their weapons. They have been improving their technology for 300 years. They are more dangerous than ever. We should call for their immediate destruction. Slammed his hand on his desk. They just saved 2,000 innocent lives. They could have destroyed that slaver fleet completely, but they showed mercy. They took prisoners instead of killing. Does that sound dangerous to you? They disobeyed the treaty by leaving the forbidden sector, someone argued. The slavers violated the treaty first by entering it, countered. The humans responded to a distress call. They protected the helpless. Is that not what we claim to value? The council erupted into argument. Some demanded action against humanity, others called for gratitude. The chamber filled with competing voices. On the Vengeance, Brooks did not care about politics. He walked through the hangar bay, checking on the refugees. They stared at him with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. Sora ran up to him. She had been given food and water and a warm blanket. Captain Brooks. He knelt down again. Yes, Sora. Why did you save us? My teacher said the galaxy forgot about people like us. She said nobody cares about refugees. Brooks felt his heart ache. This was exactly why the Council's decision 300 years ago had been wrong. They had chosen comfort over justice, peace over protection. Humans care, he told her gently. We have always cared, and we always will. Sora hugged him suddenly, her small arms barely reaching around his chest. Brooks patted her back awkwardly. He was a soldier, not used to such displays of emotion. Sophie Hayes approached. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Defense Fleet. 12 carriers are inbound, 300 warships. They will arrive in 4 hours. Brooks stood, still holding Sora's hand. Are they here to help or attack? Fleet Admiral L stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, and watched the tactical display with growing unease. His fleet of 300 warships moved through space in perfect formation, converging on the forbidden sector. Around him, his officers worked in tense silence. He was old for his species, nearly 400 years. He had commanded fleets for 2 centuries. He had fought pirates, quelled rebellions, and maintained peace across 100 worlds. But he had never felt this particular combination of duty and dread. Admiral, we will reach the human vessel in 3 hours and 40 minutes, his navigation officer reported. El nodded slowly. He remembered the day humanity had been exiled. He had been a young lieutenant then, fresh from the academy, assigned to escort the human ships to the forbidden sector. He had watched as their mighty warships disappeared into that region of space, never to be seen again. Until now. Show me the engagement data from the slaver incident, he ordered. The main screen displayed the recorded footage. El watched as the human ship, the UHS Vengeance, disabled 47 hostile vessels in 90 seconds. The precision was remarkable. The restraint was even more so. They could have destroyed the entire slaver fleet, but they had chosen to disable and capture instead. Their technology has advanced significantly, his tactical officer observed. Our intelligence suggests their weapons are at least a century ahead of ours. Perhaps more, El said quietly. They have had 300 years with nothing to do but improve. While we grew comfortable, they grew stronger. His communication officer spoke up. Admiral, we are receiving your orders from the Council. They say to surround the human vessel and demand their surrender. If they refuse, we are authorized to use force. El felt his stomach turn. Do the Council members understand what they are asking? That ship just defeated 47 vessels without taking damage. We may outnumber them, but at what cost? The Council believes our numbers will be sufficient, sir. El looked at the tactical display again. 300 ships against 1. It should be overwhelming odds. But something in his gut told him this would not be a simple confrontation. Aboard the Vengeance, Captain Brooks sat in his ready room, reviewing reports. The refugees were settling into temporary quarters. Lisa Morgan had finished her medical examinations. All 2,000 were healthy, though many suffered from malnutrition and trauma. The slaver crews were secured in the brig. X himself sat in an isolation cell, refusing to speak. Sophie Hayes entered without knocking. Captain, long-range sensors have detected the Galactic Defense Fleet. 300 ships, all capital class. They will arrive in 3 hours. Brooks set down his data pad. Any communication from them? Not yet, but their formation suggests they mean to surround us. Expected, Brooks said. He had known this moment would come. Saving the had been the right choice, but it had consequences. The galaxy was about to remember that humans still existed. "Should we call for reinforcement?" Sophie asked. "The other ships are within range. We could have all 12 battleships here in 2 hours." Brooks considered it. 12 human dreadnoughts against 300 galactic warships. Even with their technological advantage, those were difficult odds. But more than that, calling the full fleet would send the wrong message. It would look like preparation for war. "No," he decided. "We stand alone. We are not here to threaten anyone. We rescued hostages and detained criminals. If the galaxy wants to punish us for that, let them try." Sophie smiled slightly. "The crew will appreciate your confidence, sir." The crew should prepare for battle stations, just in case. In the council chamber, the debate had reached a fever pitch. Representatives shouted over each other, their translators struggling to keep up. Ambassador watched with growing frustration. "The humans violated the treaty," one council member yelled. "They left the forbidden sector. This cannot be tolerated." "They responded to a distress call," countered. "A distress call that our own forces ignored because we were too afraid to enter that sector. That sector was forbidden for a reason." "Yes," said coldly. "Because we were afraid of humans, because we exiled them rather than work with them. And now they have shown more courage and honor in one day than we have shown in 3 centuries." A representative from the Empire stood. She was young, perhaps too young to remember the exile. "What if they refuse to return to the sector? What if they decide to take revenge on us for what we did?" Pointed at the screen showing the vengeance. "Does that look like a ship seeking revenge? They saved lives. They showed mercy to their enemies. They protected the weak. These are not the actions of conquerors." "They have advanced weapons," another voice argued. "Weapons that could threaten every world in the galaxy." "They have had those weapons for 300 years, shot back. "If they wanted to attack us, they could have done so at any time. They chose not to. Does that mean nothing?" The council chamber fell into an uneasy silence. No one had a good answer to that. Finally, the council leader spoke. "The fleet has been dispatched. Admiral L will assess the situation and act accordingly. We will reconvene when we have more information." Left the chamber feeling defeated. He had tried to speak for humanity, but fear was a powerful force. The council was afraid, and afraid people made bad decisions. He returned to his quarters and opened a secure communication channel. It took several minutes to route through the proper channels, but eventually, a face appeared on his screen. Captain Daniel Brooks looked tired but calm. "Ambassador, it has been a long time." "You remember me?" asked surprised. "My great-grandfather kept detailed records. He spoke highly of you. He said you were one of the few who voted against exile." Felt old emotions stir. "I failed. My vote was not enough." "You tried. That matters." Brooks leaned forward. "I assume you are not calling to reminisce. The defense fleet will be here soon." "In 3 hours," confirmed. "Admiral L commands them. He is a good officer, but he follows orders. The council has authorized him to use force if you do not surrender." "Surrender to what charge? Saving innocent lives." "To the charge of violating the treaty by leaving the forbidden sector." Brooks laughed, but there was no humor in it. "A slaver fleet entered our sector and kidnapped refugees. We had every right to respond." "I agree, but the council does not see it that way. They see a human warship that destroyed 47 vessels in 90 seconds. They are terrified, Brooks. Terrified people do stupid things." Brooks was quiet for a moment. "What do you suggest?" "Return to the forbidden sector. Take the with you if you wish. Just go back and this can be resolved peacefully." "And if I refuse?" Met his eyes through the screen. "Then a lot of good people on both sides are going to die, and I do not want that." "Neither do I," Brooks admitted. "But I will not run, not anymore. Humanity has spent 300 years hiding in the dark. We saved those people because it was right. If the galaxy wants to punish us for doing right, then we will face that punishment. But we will not hide." After the call ended, Brooks sat alone in his ready room for a long time. He thought about his great-grandfather, the first Captain Brooks, who had led humanity into exile with dignity. He thought about the generations of his family who had served on the ship, waiting for the day they would be needed. That day had come. He opened a secure channel to the other 11 human battleships scattered throughout the forbidden sector. Captains appeared on his screen, men and women from different ships but united in purpose. Everyone has seen the data by now, Brooks said. The defense fleet is coming, 300 ships. They want us to surrender. Captain Victoria Grant of the UHS Defiance spoke first. What are our orders? I want you all to move into support positions, Brooks said. Stay in the forbidden sector, but be ready to respond if needed. Do not cross the boundary unless I give the word. You are going to face them alone, Captain Henry Stone of the UHS Retribution asked. For now, if they want war, they will have it. But let us make them fire the first shot. Let them be the ones who choose violence over peace. The other captains nodded their agreement. They did not like it, but they understood. Brooks was giving the galaxy one last chance to do the right thing. On the Vengeance, the crew prepared quietly. Carter ran diagnostics on every system. Lisa Morgan stockpiled medical supplies. Jake and his Marines checked their weapons and armor. In the temporary refugee quarters, Sara watched the human crew moving with purpose. She did not understand everything that was happening, but she understood enough. The humans were in danger because they had saved her people. She found Captain Brooks in the corridor outside the bridge. He was reviewing a data pad, his face serious. Captain Brooks, she said quietly. He looked down at her and smiled. Hello, Sara, shouldn't you be resting? I heard the other talking. They said a big fleet is coming. They said you might have to fight because you saved us. Tears welled in her large eyes. I don't want you to get hurt because of us. Brooks knelt down so they were eye to eye. Sara, listen to me carefully. We did not save you because it was easy. We saved you because it was right. And no matter what happens next, I would make the same choice again. Do you understand? But why? We are nobody, just refugees. You are not nobody, Brooks said firmly. Every life matters. Every person deserves to be protected. That is what humans believe. That is what we have always believed. Sara wiped her eyes. My grandmother was wrong. Humans are not scary. You are the kindest people I have ever met. Brooks felt his throat tighten. He had commanded this ship for 15 years. He had trained his entire life for combat. He had prepared for every possible military scenario, but nothing had prepared him for the simple gratitude of a child. Go get some rest, he told her gently. Everything will be okay. As she walked away, Sophie Hayes approached. That was kind of you, sir, but can you really promise her everything will be okay? Brooks stood and watched Sara disappear around the corner. No, but I can promise that we will do everything in our power to make it so. The fleet will be here in 90 minutes, Sophie said. Then we have 90 minutes to make sure our ship is ready. Let's not waste them. The Vengeance hummed with activity as the crew made final preparations. In engineering, power was routed to critical systems. On the bridge, tactical solutions were calculated and recalculated. In the hangar bay, fighters were armed and fueled. And in the medical bay, Lisa Morgan said a quiet prayer to whatever gods might be listening. She prayed for peace. She prayed for wisdom. But most of all, she prayed that she would not have to use any of the body bags she had prepared. Across the galaxy, billions of people watched news feeds as the story spread. The humans were back. They had saved refugees from slavers. Now a fleet was moving to confront them. Some people cheered, hopping to see the dangerous humans finally destroyed. Others worried, fearing war. And a small number wondered if maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had been wrong about humanity all along. Ambassador watched from his quarters as the fleet approached the forbidden sector. He had done everything he could. Now it was in the hands of Admiral L and Captain Brooks. Two officers, both honorable, both following their duty, both about to make decisions that would shape the galaxy's future. Just hoped they made the right ones. The Galactic Defense Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 300 warships surrounded the forbidden sector, their weapons powered but not yet locked on targets. Admiral L stood on his bridge and looked at the tactical display with a heavy heart. The human ship sat calmly at the center of the formation. It made no aggressive moves. Its shields were raised, but its weapons remained cold. To L, it looked less like a warship preparing for battle and more like a guardian watching over something precious. Open a channel to the human vessel, L ordered. His communication officer worked the controls. Channel open, Admiral. L took a deep breath. This is Fleet Admiral L of the Galactic Defense Force to the UHS Vengeance. Captain Brooks, I am here under orders from the Council. You are commanded to stand down, release any prisoners you have taken, and return to the Forbidden Sector immediately. On the Vengeance Bridge, Brooks listened to the message. Sophie Hayes watched him carefully, waiting for orders. The rest of the bridge crew sat ready at their stations. "Open a return channel," Brooks said calmly. Sophie activated the communication system. "Channel open, sir." "Admiral L, this is Captain Daniel Brooks. The prisoners you refer to are slavers who kidnapped innocent refugees. They are being held for crimes against sentient beings. The refugees themselves are under our protection and will not be surrendered to anyone." L closed his eyes for a moment. He had expected this response. "Captain, I understand your position, but you violated the treaty by leaving the Forbidden Sector. The Council demands your immediate compliance." "The slaver fleet violated the treaty first by entering our sector," Brooks countered. "We responded to a distress call from innocent civilians. If the Council has a problem with that, they can take it up with me directly." "The Council is not here. I am, and I have orders." Brooks leaned forward in his chair. "Then you have a choice to make, Admiral. You can follow those orders and attack a ship that just saved 2,000 lives, or you can do what is right." The channel went silent for a long moment. On the Eternal Dawn, L's officers waited for his decision. His tactical officer spoke quietly. "Admiral, we have them surrounded. Even with their advanced technology, they cannot defeat 300 ships." "Perhaps," L said, "but at what cost? How many of our ships will they destroy before we win? How many of our crews will die?" He paused. "And will we be able to live with ourselves afterward, knowing we killed people who saved innocent lives?" His second-in-command stepped forward. "Sir, if you disobey the Council's orders, you will be court-martialed. Your career will be over." El smiled sadly. "I am 400 years old. I have had a good career. Maybe it is time for it to end with something meaningful." Before he could say more, every sensor on every ship in the fleet suddenly screamed warnings. 11 more human battleships emerged from the Forbidden Sector. They moved in perfect formation, taking up positions around the Vengeance. The 12 ships formed a defensive sphere, shields overlapping, weapons now charging to full power. El stared at the tactical display in shock. How did they get so close without our sensors detecting them? His tactical officer shook his head, amazed. "Their stealth technology is beyond anything we have, sir. They must have been waiting just inside the sector boundary." The communication channel activated again. Brooks' voice came through. "Admiral, I just received word that my fellow captains were concerned for my safety. They have decided to join me." El looked at the 12 human dreadnoughts. Even surrounded by 300 ships, they did not look afraid. They looked ready, ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. But more than that, they looked like protectors, like guardians standing watch over something they cared about. "Captain Brooks," El said slowly, "if we engage in combat here, many will die, yours and mine both. Is that really what you want?" "Of course not," Brooks replied. "But I will not abandon the refugees, and I will not surrender people who committed no crime except saving lives." El made a decision that would change everything. "Captain, I need to tell you something. Something the Council does not know. Something I should have reported years ago but kept secret." Brooks waited, listening. 15 years ago," El continued, "my fleet responded to a distress call from a science outpost on the edge of known space. When we arrived, the entire facility had been destroyed. We found evidence of an attack by unknown forces, ships we had never seen before, technology we could not identify." On the Vengeance, Brooks felt his blood run cold. He knew what was coming. "We tracked the attackers to the edge of the galaxy," El said. "What we found there terrified us. A fleet of massive organic ships, thousands of them. They were waiting just outside our borders, testing our defenses. We engaged them briefly, lost 3 ships, and barely escaped with the data." Sophie Hayes looked at Brooks with wide eyes. She mouthed one word: "Devourers." Brooks nodded grimly. "I reported the incident to the Council," El continued. "I told them we needed to prepare for a major threat. Do you know what they did? They classified the entire event. They buried it. They said announcing an unknown threat would cause panic, so they did nothing." "And you said nothing?" Brooks asked. "I am a soldier, Captain. I follow orders, even when those orders are wrong." El paused. "But I have been watching the edge of our territory for 15 years, and the unknown ships keep coming. Small raids, probing attacks, testing our strength. They are planning something big, Brooks. I can feel it. Brooks stood from his chair. Admiral, what I am about to tell you is going to sound impossible, but I need you to trust me. I am listening. Humanity has known about the Devourers for 250 years. We encountered them during long-range patrols. At first, we thought they were just another hostile species, but we quickly learned they were something far worse. Brooks pulled up data on his screen and transmitted it to the Eternal Dawn. They are not from this galaxy. They come from dark space between galaxies. They consume everything in their path: planets, stars, entire civilizations. They are a plague that has destroyed countless galaxies before ours. El watched the data streaming across his screens. Ship movements, battle reports, casualty lists, hundreds of engagements spanning 2.5 centuries. You have been fighting them? El asked in disbelief. All this time. The 12 battleships you see before you are all that remain of humanity's deep space fleet. We started with 36 ships. 24 have been destroyed fighting the Devourers at the galaxy's edge, keeping them away from civilized space, keeping them away from you. Sophie Hayes transmitted more data, maps showing Devourer fleet positions, projected invasion routes, tactical analysis. We did not tell the Council because we knew they would panic, Brooks said. Or worse, they would blame us for bringing the threat, so we fought in silence, we died in silence, protecting a galaxy that cast us out. El felt shame burn through him. While the Council had buried one incident, humanity had been fighting a war for centuries. Alone, unrecognized, asking for nothing in return. Why, El asked quietly, why protect us after what we did to you? Because it is the right thing to do, Brooks said simply. Because innocent people deserve to be safe, because that is what humans do. On the Eternal Dawn, officers stared at their screens in shock. The data was overwhelming. The evidence was undeniable. Humanity had been fighting a secret war to protect the galaxy. El's communication officer spoke up. Sir, we are receiving a priority alert from deep space monitoring stations. Multiple unknown contacts detected at Sector Edge. Estimated count, over 5,000 ships. The bridge went silent. Brooks' voice came through the channel, cold and certain. They are here. The Devourers have finally gathered enough strength for a full invasion. This is what we have been preparing for. On the Vengeance, Carter's voice came through from engineering. Captain, sensors confirm it is a Devourer hive fleet. They are heading directly for the core worlds. Sophie Hayes pulled up the tactical projection. The Devourer fleet was massive, spreading across space like a dark tide. At their current speed, they would reach the first inhabited systems in 6 hours. Brooks looked at the screen showing Admiral L. Admiral, you have a choice to make. You can follow your orders and attack us, or you can stand with us and fight the real enemy. L did not hesitate. All ships, new orders, form up alongside the human vessels. We have a common enemy and we fight them together. His tactical officer looked shocked. Sir, the Council will have you executed for this. Then I will die knowing I made the right choice, El said firmly. Besides, if we don't stop this fleet, the Council won't exist to execute anyone. 300 galactic warships changed formation. Instead of surrounding the human vessels, they took up positions alongside them. 2 fleets becoming one. Brooks opened a channel to all 12 human battleships. All captains, this is Brooks, full combat protocols. We have been preparing for this fight for 250 years. Time to show the galaxy what humanity can do. Captain Victoria Grant of the UHS Defiance responded. With you to the end, Brooks. Captain Henry Stone of the UHS Retribution added, let's make our ancestors proud. One by one, the other captains confirmed. 12 human dreadnoughts from centuries of battle, ready for one final stand. In the refugee quarters, Sora felt the ship shudder as the reactors powered up to full combat levels. She was scared, but she was also strangely calm. The humans had saved her. Now she had to trust them to save everyone else too. Ambassador received the emergency alert in his quarters. His screen showed the Devourer fleet advancing on the galaxy. It showed Admiral L's fleet standing alongside the humans. It showed the Council erupting in panic and anger. He smiled despite the danger. Finally, the galaxy would see what he had always known. Humanity was not the threat. They were the shield, the sword, the guardians who stood watch in the dark. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Brooks watched the Devourer fleet approach. They were massive organic ships that looked like they had been grown rather than built. Their hulls pulsed with sickly light. Their weapons crackled with bioelectric energy. Sophie analysis. 5,347 ships, she reported. Multiple ship classes, but all significantly larger than ours. They are moving in swarm formation, which means they are coordinating through a hive mind. If we can find and destroy the command ship, the rest will become disorganized. Easier said than done, Brooks muttered. Admiral L's face appeared on a secondary screen. Captain, my fleet has never faced an enemy like this. We need guidance. Brooks took a deep breath. This was it. The moment when humanity would either save the galaxy or die trying. Admiral, I am transmitting our complete tactical database on the Devourers. Study it quickly. We have 4 hours before they reach combat range. He paused. And Admiral, thank you for standing with us. L nodded slowly. Thank you for standing guard all these years. We should have been there with you. You are here now. That is what matters. Across the combined fleet, crews prepared for battle. Weapons were charged. Shields were reinforced. Soldiers said prayers or wrote final messages to loved ones. They knew the odds, 5,000 enemy ships against 312 Allied vessels. But they also knew what they were fighting for, their homes, their families, their future. And they knew that 12 of their ships were commanded by humans who had been fighting this war for centuries. Humans who knew every trick, every weakness, every way to turn the Devourer's strength against them. The galaxy had feared humanity once, cast them out, tried to forget they existed. Now the galaxy would learn what humans had become in exile, not conquerors, not monsters. Guardians, the Devourer fleet moved through space like a living disease. Their organic ships pulsed with unnatural light, hundreds of tentacles writhing from their hulls. They had destroyed countless civilizations across multiple galaxies. They knew no mercy, no fear, no emotion except hunger. They saw the combined fleet waiting for them, and they did not slow down. To them, resistance was meaningless. All life would be consumed eventually. On the Vengeance Bridge, Sophie Hayes counted down. 2 hours until they reach weapons range. All ships report ready for combat. Captain Brooks stood at the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this their entire lives. Their parents had trained for it. Their grandparents had trained for it. 5 generations of preparation for this moment. Captain Admiral L is requesting a joint command structure, Sophie reported. Put him through. L's image appeared on the main screen. Behind him, his bridge crew worked frantically to absorb the tactical data humanity had shared. Captain Brooks, my officers have reviewed your files on the Devourers. This hive mind control ship, how do we identify it? It will be at the center of their formation, Brooks explained. Heavily shielded and protected by their strongest vessels. If we can destroy it, the rest of the fleet will lose coordination. They will still fight, but they will be slower to adapt and easier to defeat. Then that is our target, L agreed. I propose we split our forces. Your 12 ships form the spearhead and drive toward the center. My 300 ships provide covering fire and engage the outer fleet. Brooks considered the plan. It made tactical sense, but it also put the human ships at maximum risk. They would be diving into the heart of the enemy formation with no support. My ships are faster and more heavily shielded, Brooks said. We can handle it, but Admiral, your fleet is going to take heavy casualties. Are you sure your crews are ready for that? L looked tired but determined. We should have been fighting this battle alongside you for 2 centuries. The least we can do is fight it now. Understood. We attack in 1 hour. Brooks out. The channel closed. Sophie looked at her captain with concern. Sir, even with our advantages, the odds are not good. We are outnumbered 15-1. I know, Brooks said quietly, but we have something they don't. What is that? A reason to fight. We are not conquering, we are not destroying, we are protecting, and that makes all the difference. In the refugee quarters, Sora and the other gathered together. They could feel the ship preparing for battle. The lights had dimmed to red. The walls hummed with energy. Human crew members rushed past, focused and serious. An older woman named Elder spoke to the group. The humans are going to fight for us, for all of us. We should pray for their safety. Will they win? A child asked. Elder did not lie. I do not know, but I know they will give everything they have. That is the kind of people they are. Sora thought about Captain Brooks kneeling down to talk to her, about Jake removing his helmet to smile at her, about the doctor who had treated her injuries with gentle hands, about the engineer who had shown her the ship's engines and let her press a button just to see her smile. They will win, Sora said with certainty. They have to. In the medical bay, Lisa Morgan prepared for the worst. Every bed was ready. Every medical drone was charged. She had enough supplies to treat hundreds of wounded. She prayed it would be enough. Jake and his Marines checked their weapons one final time. They would not be boarding any ships today. This was a fleet battle, but they stood ready anyway, just in case. Carter worked in engineering, pushing the reactors to their absolute limits. He had calculated that they could maintain maximum power for 4 hours before the cores started to overheat. After that, things would get dangerous. He hoped the battle would be over by then. Across the combined fleet, similar preparations happened on 312 ships. Galactic crews who had never seen real combat worked alongside their stations. Officers who had fought only pirates and smugglers now faced an existential threat. But they did not run. They did not surrender. They stood their ground because the humans beside them had shown them what real courage looked like. The Devourer fleet reached weapons range. Their organic ships opened fire first. Bioelectric bolts that looked like purple lightning streaked across space. Acidic projectiles that could eat through shields and armor. Living missiles that sought out engines and reactors. All ships evasive maneuvers, Admiral L ordered. The Galactic fleet scattered, their pilots using every bit of skill to dodge the incoming fire. Some succeeded, others did not. 3 ships were hit immediately, their shields collapsing under the assault. The 12 human battleships did not dodge. They moved forward in perfect formation, their shields absorbing everything the Devourers threw at them. Return fire, Brooks ordered calmly. The human ships unleashed their weapons, energy beams that had been refined over centuries. Missiles with guidance systems that could track a target through a nebula, point defense lasers that created an impenetrable web of light. Devourer ships began to die. The human weapons cut through their organic hulls like paper. Explosions blossomed across the enemy formation. But for every Devourer ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. They swarmed forward, learning and adapting with each exchange. They are targeting our engines, Sophie reported. They have analyzed our tactics and identified our propulsion systems as a weak point. Rotate shield harmonics, Brooks ordered. Redirect power from non-essential systems to rear shields. The battle became chaos. Ships weaved through space, firing continuously. Explosions lit up the void. Debris from destroyed vessels created deadly clouds of shrapnel. Admiral L's flagship took a direct hit. The Eternal Dawn shuddered, her shields flickering. Damage report, L shouted. Forward shields at 40%, his tactical officer reported. Hull breach on decks 7 and 8, casualties reported. L gritted his teeth. This was worse than any simulation. The Devourers were relentless, precise, and learning faster than his crews could adapt. All ships form up on the Vengeance, he ordered. We follow the humans' lead. The Galactic fleet reformed around the 12 human dreadnoughts. Together, they drove forward, pushing deeper into the Devourer formation. On the Vengeance, Sophie Hayes tracked their progress. We are 30% of the way to the command ship, but we are losing ships. The Galactic fleet has lost 47 vessels already. Brooks felt each loss like a knife to his heart. Good people were dying, following his plan, trusting his leadership. Keep pushing forward, he said. We cannot stop now. Jake watched the battle through the ship's external cameras. He had fought Devourers in boarding actions before, seen their organic interiors and the nightmare creatures that controlled them. But he had never seen them in such numbers. We can do this, he told his squad. The captain has never let us down before. A massive Devourer battleship moved to intercept the Vengeance. It was 3 times larger than any human ship, covered in weapons ports and armored plates that looked like bones. Target that ship, Brooks ordered. All human vessels concentrate fire on my mark. The 12 human battleships synchronized their weapons. Energy built in their main batteries, power readings climbing to dangerous levels. Fire! 12 beams of pure energy lanced out simultaneously. They converged on the Devourer battleship and punched straight through its center. The organic vessel convulsed, then exploded in a blast of green fire. The Galactic fleet cheered. For the first time, they began to believe they might actually win. But the Devourers adapted. Their formation shifted, placing smaller ships as shields for the larger ones. They began targeting the human vessels specifically, recognizing them as the greatest threat. The UHS Defiance took heavy fire. "Brooks, this is Grant." Captain Victoria Grant's voice was strained. "We have multiple hull breaches, engine power dropping to 60%. "Fall back to secondary position," Brooks ordered. "Let the Galactic fleet cover you while you make repairs." "Negative," Grant replied. "We are still combat effective, maintaining position." "That is an order, Victoria." "With respect, sir, go to hell. We have been waiting 200 years for this fight. We are not sitting it out now." Brooks wanted to argue, but he understood. These captains had given their entire lives to this moment. Their families had died in previous battles. They would not run now. "All human vessels," Brooks said. "I am proud to serve with you. Let us finish this." The 12 dreadnoughts drove deeper into the enemy formation. Behind them, the Galactic fleet fought with desperate courage. Ships were damaged, ships were destroyed, but they did not break, they did not run. Sophie Hayes suddenly shouted, "Contact! I have the command ship, bearing 035, range 2,000 kilometers." Brooks leaned forward. On the main screen, he could see it. A massive organic structure that looked more like a living cathedral than a ship. Pulses of light ran along its surface, coordinating the entire Devourer fleet. "That is it," Brooks said. "All ships, new target, everything we have." But the Devourers knew they had been identified. Hundreds of ships moved to protect their command vessel. They formed a living wall of flesh and bone and alien technology. Admiral L watched in horror. "We will never get through that many ships." "Yes, we will," Brooks said. He opened a channel to all 12 human captains. "You all know what needs to be done. It has been an honor serving with you." Sophie Hayes realized what he was planning. "Captain, no, there has to be another way." "There is not," Brooks said quietly. "Transfer all power to forward shields, everything. Life support, artificial gravity, all of it. Give me every ounce of energy this ship can produce." In engineering, Carter felt tears in his eyes, but he followed the orders. "Aye, Captain, all power to forward shields. We will have 30 seconds before the reactors overload." Brooks addressed the Galactic fleet. "Admiral L, when we create an opening, you take it. Get to that command ship and destroy it. Do not waste this chance." "Brooks, what are you doing?" L demanded. "What humans do best, protecting others." The Vengeance surged forward at maximum speed. Behind it, the other 11 human battleships followed. Their shields overlapped, forming a single massive barrier of energy. They charged directly at the wall of Devourer ships. The impact was catastrophic. Human shields met Devourer hulls, and both sides began to tear apart. But the human ships did not stop. They pushed forward, using their momentum and their last reserves of power to create a gap in the enemy formation. The UHS Retribution exploded first, her reactor core overloading. Captain Henry Stone and his crew of 300 died instantly. The UHS Defiance followed seconds later. Captain Victoria Grant's last words were broadcast across the fleet. "For Earth, for the galaxy, for everyone we protected." One by one, the human battleships sacrificed themselves. They created a tunnel through the Devourer formation straight to the command ship. The price was terrible. The cost was beyond measure. But the path was clear. "Now, Admiral," Brooks shouted, "go, go." The Galactic fleet surged through the gap. 300 ships, battered and damaged but still fighting, poured through the opening the humans had created. On the Vengeance, alarms screamed. The ship was breaking apart. Hull plates tore away, decks decompressed. The reactors were seconds from total failure. "All hands abandon ship," Brooks ordered. "Get to the escape pods, that is an order." His crew evacuated quickly, trained and disciplined even in disaster. Lisa Morgan shepherded the refugees to the escape pods. Jake made sure every Marine made it out. Sophie Hayes stood at her station. "Captain, you need to go." "I will be right behind you," Brooks lied. Sophie looked at him for a long moment. She knew he was lying, but she also knew there was no time to argue. She ran for the escape pods. Brooks sat alone on the bridge of the dying ship. He watched the Galactic fleet reach the Devourer command ship. He watched them open fire with everything they had. He watched the command vessel begin to crack and burn. "We did it," he whispered. The Vengeance's reactor finally failed. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Captain Daniel Brooks died as 5 generations of his family had died, fighting for others, protecting the innocent, asking for nothing in return. The Devourer command ship shattered. Without its coordinating intelligence, the enemy fleet fell into chaos. The Galactic ships pressed their advantage, destroying the confused and disorganized Devourers. Within an hour, it was over. The Devourer fleet was destroyed or fleeing. The invasion had been stopped. But the cost was staggering. All 12 human battleships were gone. Tens of thousands of human lives lost. The Galactic fleet had lost 193 ships of their own. Admiral L stood on his damaged bridge and felt the weight of victory mixed with grief. The humans had saved them, at the cost of everything they had. 6 months later, a memorial was built on Earth. It listed every name of every person who had died in the secret war against the Devourers. Millions of names, spanning 2.5 centuries. At the dedication ceremony, Sora placed flowers at the base of the monument. She was older now, living with a foster family on Earth, that had been granted asylum and citizenship. Ambassador stood beside her. He had resigned from the Council and come to Earth to help rebuild relations between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. "They saved us," Sora said quietly. "Captain Brooks and all the others, they saved everyone." "Yes, they did," agreed, "and the galaxy will never forget." Ships from 100 worlds orbited Earth now, not as conquerors or judges, but as protectors. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Humanity had been their shield all along, standing guard in the darkness while everyone else slept peacefully. Never again would they be cast out. Never again would they stand alone. A new fleet was being built. Human designs, but crewed by volunteers from every species. A combined defense force to protect the galaxy from future threats. They called it the Guardian Fleet. Sophie Hayes, now promoted to captain, commanded one of the new ships. She carried the name Vengeance in honor of the ship that had given everything. As she stood on her bridge, looking at Earth below, she thought about Captain Brooks, about his calm voice in the midst of chaos, about his unwavering commitment to protecting others. "We will keep watch," she said to herself, "just like you taught us." Across the galaxy, from the core worlds to the outer rim, people looked to the stars with new understanding. Humanity had proven that strength was not measured in weapons alone. True strength came from the willingness to stand between the innocent and harm. The galaxy had feared humanity once, cast them aside, tried to forget they existed. But now, when people looked to the darkness of space, they felt safer knowing humans were out there, standing guard, watching over them. And the stars would never forget again. And the stars themselves would remember. "Unknown, sir. The message just says to stand by and await their arrival." Brooks looked down at Sora, then at the 2,000 who trusted him to keep them safe, then at his crew who had followed him without question. "Then we wait," he said, "and we prepare for whatever comes next." X felt fear for the first time in his long life. That single shot contained more power than his entire fleet could generate together, and it had been a warning shot. His communication officer's voice shook. "Sir, the human is broadcasting again." Brooks' voice filled every ship's bridge. "7 minutes remain. Release the captives now, your choice."